And since Goldsberry got himself back into the starting lineup, that's when they went on this 4 out of 5 game stretch.
He's one of those guys who doesn't shoot very often, but he is a glue guy who takes care of the basketball. Whistling a foul off the ball against the aforementioned Mr. Goldsberry.
Oh, he's very physical. That time the officials catch him for an illegal screen.
And there's head coach Fran McCaffrey in his 4th season as the head coach of the Saints. A 23-7 record this year. Kenny Hasbrook on the screen and roll. Gets to Alex Franklin. No. Rossiter tips and Logans clears for Canisius. Julius Coles, a 6'4" sophomore from Harlem. One of the big 3, if you will, for the Griffs. Reach-in foul against Ubilis of Siena. This Canisius offense in last night's first-round game revolved around the 3. Frank Turner, 22 points. Greg Logans, 19 points and 13 rebounds. And Chris Gadley came off the bench. Strong 17 minutes, 6 points, 5 rebounds. But they have a couple of guys who just don't shoot. But Coles, Turner, and Logans are who you're looking for to score at this end.
And in that win against Loyola, they didn't play particularly well. They turned it over 20 times and missed 15 foul shots, but yet had the comfortable win to advance.
Well, another one of the key components to Canisius having that strong finish as Ubilis connects has been the play of Greg Logans, and we'll talk about 0-0 as the afternoon wears on.
Last night in key situations, they certainly went to him in the post. Has a tendency, especially early in the season, was hanging out at the perimeter too much, but he's one of the better low post scorers in this league.
Coles from Turner. Little line drive on the 3. Ubilis the rebound. He'll dribble up. One thing Coach Parada said last night that they've got to concern themselves with is that Siena is as quick as anybody at turning a made basket even, or a good defensive stop into points at the other end.
Now transition defense right at the top of that list that he's taking a look at right there. As far as his keys, they've got to get back. Siena has certainly scored it against them in their 2 meetings. 91 in the win here earlier this season, and then 78 the last time they met last Sunday.
And in that ball game, Siena won 78-74 in Buffalo. Kenny Hasbrook scored 18 of his 20 after the break. Goldsberry misfires, and here is Hasbrook, the conference player of the year.
And yet Logans hasn't gotten a touch yet early on in the paint.
Hasbrook from Moore. Rainbow 3 is good.
And Hasbrook, one of those guys that certainly seems to have Canisius' number. He was above 20 in both their meetings this year.
Turner still with the dribble, protects the ball nicely like he's a running back hitting the hole, and Canisius is on the board.
And look at Ronald Moore just rush it right back up his back.
He missed. Rossiter had it taken away. Logans clears to Turner. Frank Turner's a junior from Atlantic City, New Jersey. Kept the dribble long enough to draw the reach-in foul against Siena.
Well, he's always aggressive, probing, trying to get by people, but he's got to take care of the basketball. And again, good drive by Moore, sucks in the defense, and then Hasbrook stepping right into it, draining the deep 3.
Moore leads the conference in assists per game. Tomas Vasquez Simmons, who last night played 27 minutes, took just 1 shot, makes his first shot here today.
Yeah, he's known for his defense, had 5 blocks last night.
Well, how often can you say, Rob, that a team wins a ball game in spite of the fact that 2 of your 5 starters played long minutes, yet only took 1 shot apiece and missed them both? Got a carry, goes against Coles. Guys know their roles.
Yeah,
I guess it works. If Goldsberry and Vasquez Simmons understand that we're not here to score a lot of points, it can work.
Well, the key last night was throwing it inside and playing through Logans inside in the post. They've gotten away from that here early on. They've taken some quick shots.
Logans averages 11.5 points and 7 rebounds per game. He had that double-double last night, 19 and 13. Rossiter guarded by Logans. Ronald Moore from the foul line. Coles the rebound for the Golden Griffins.
And Canisius would like to push given the opportunity.
Vasquez Simmons, the 3 is off the mark.
And they do that way too much. Their bigs take way too many 3s.
Four minutes gone here in our second quarterfinal. Rossiter Off the feed from Hasbrook for 2.
Now there's the difference. Siena, they're going to pound it into the paint with their bigs. Vasquez Simmons on that 3 on the other end. That was his 76th three-point shot attempt of the season. This from a guy that shoots it at 30%. That's just way too many threes from a guy that can't shoot it well enough.
And again, maybe you need a happy medium. Last night, 27 minutes, only 1 shot taken. We've already seen 2 shots, including 1 3 that they didn't need. Coles turns it over again on the traveling violation, and the Saints will get it back when we come back. Big crowd here in Albany to see the hometown Siena Saints. They lead by 3. Welcome back to the Citizens Bank MAAC Championships presented by Pepsi Max. And don't miss out on the excitement. Tickets are still available for this event here in Albany. Get your tickets now by calling 1-800-30-EVENT or by logging on to timesunion.com. MAAC Madness, the tradition continues.
Well, he talked about the fact that Canisius at times their bigs hanging out too deep, and Vasquez Simmons steps up and misses a three-point shot. Again, he's just taken way too many threes. On the other side, you've got Ryan Rossiter. Where's he go? He lives in the paint. One of the reasons why he leads the MAAC in field goal percentage at 63%, and certainly you can make a case that he's the most improved player in the league this year, along with the likes of Ryan Schneider, Ryan Bacon, and also Julius Coles for Canisius.
Hasbrook strong to the basket, and the conference player of the year hits a 2. He's now got 5 points. And the Siena lead is 5.
And his offensive versatility, one of the reasons why he is hard to guard. We've seen his outside shooting ability, and he's got that great size, Doug. When he gets to the rim, he finishes.
Well, he's 6'3", near 200. Has a solid shot from the perimeter, but loves to put it on the floor as well. Entry pass intended for Vasquez Simmons, and Coles turns it over, number 4 against the Griffs.
And as we said, Canisius Comparada's team at times will kick it around. They had 19 turnovers in the first meeting against Siena and 17 in the second.
As Coach Parada, Yonkers native who has been around the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference for many, many years as a player, as an assistant, and now as a head coach. Ronald Moore picks up the dribble, kicks back to Hasbrook. 21-footer is good.
So he beats you at the rim and then he takes you outside. His versatility, one of the reasons why he's the player of the year in the MAAC. The other big reason, how he finished coming down the stretch, with the exception of the game at Niagara where he really struggled. Other than that, he was terrific over the last 15 games of this season.
And he's got 5 of the 7 points in a 7-0 run. Logans, who has not gotten a touch on the low post, fires away from the perimeter, and then the over-the-back foul called against Elton Frazier.
And again, not to beat a dead horse, but here's Logans, who is a load inside. I mean, when he gets the ball into paint, he is really hard to guard. But instead, here's a screen down play for him to take a 3. There's a reason why Canisius is dead last in this league in three-point field goal percentage at 28%.
Yep.
Because they just take too many bad shots.
And again, as a team, on 2-point shots, they are nearly 50%. So if you shoot 28% on 3s and nearly 50% on 2s, logic would dictate that you pound the ball inside. Turner gets the double screen from Logans and Vasquez Simmons. Siena defensively happy to allow them to fire away. Goldsberry this time knocks it down from the corner.
Well, Vasquez Simmons didn't settle that time. Instead, he makes the extra pass. And so Goldsberry, who struggled, missed his first 18 threes to start the season, and now up to 25%. But yes, up to 25%.
And again, he played extended minutes in last night's victory and took only 1 shot. He's already got a couple here today. Rossiter, a little shake and bake. And Logans picks up the foul.
Vasquez shows the basketball instead of forcing it. Throws it to the corner. Good rotation and plenty of time for Goldsberry to step in, line it up, and knock it down.
And so the best foul shooter on this MAAC team at 82%, Ryan Rossiter, shooting 2. He's the only member of the starting 5 not named on an all-star team on Thursday. And 2 of the reserves also were recognized. Clarence Jackson, the 6th man of the year, and Kyle Downey on the all-rookie team. So you could make a case that Ryan Rossiter is the most improved and clearly one of the most valuable, but he was not recognized formally on Thursday. but I think most everybody around the league knows his value. We're here in Albany, New York at the Times Union Center. Fairfield won the first quarterfinal. This is Canisius and Siena. Along with Rob Kennedy, this is Doug Sherman. Canisius in the road gold uniforms, even though most of the folks at this end of the court up in the stands are wearing gold. They are rooting for Siena, make no mistake about it. This is the home court of Siena, where they have not lost since last February. 18 straight games. Ronald Moore, after the miss, is called for the foul.
Goldsberry's the guy that throws his body around all over the place. Great hustle on the floor by both guys getting after it. So they get tangled up, and they call the foul on Moore on the takedown. And that's his second, and that could be a big factor here. As you said, he's the guy that makes everything go for the Saints.
And so taking off his jersey and one of his layers is Ronald Moore as he heads to the bench. It is rather warm in here as the crowd filtered in through that first quarterfinal. Again, a crowd of about 9,000 expected here today. Clarence Jackson has come into the ball game, as has Kyle Downey for the Saints. Frank Turner hits the three. Back to a three-point ball game.
And Turner, a guy at just 27%, but stepped right into that one.
Hasbrook takes Frazier to the bucket, but the great recovery by the tremendous leaper from Corcoran High School in Syracuse.
He and Vasquez Simmons can have some eye-popping block shots.
Coles, open look, off the mark. Logans was battling for it, but couldn't get it. Hasbrook comes away with a loose ball. Jackson, off the mark. Gadley into the ball game for the rebound. Dangerous pass. Jackson anticipated the pass, but couldn't save it. He was on the sideline. Now Vasquez Simmons will come back in, and Logans will take a break for the Golden Griffins. And we'll get our first look at Josh Duell. And the crowd here reacts to the local player who has spent more time in the trainer's room this year than he has on the floor. Missed the final two games of the season out in Western New York with a calf contusion. And you can't see a stitch of either of his legs. He's so wrapped in tape.
As we said, he's running out of body parts. He's had a bum knee. He's had Achilles. He's had the calf. As we said, he's running out of body parts.
We'll take a break. 13-10, Siena leads Canisius. Welcome back to the Citizens Bank MAAC Championships presented by Pepsi Max. The MAAC and Rider University are proud to serve as hosts of the 2009 NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship Trenton Regional on March 29th and 31st, to be played at Sovereign Bank Arena in Trenton, New Jersey. For ticket information, call 1-609-656-3224 or visit sovereignbank.com.
Well, he said Kenny Hasbrook, the player of the year here in the MAAC. A terrific outside shooter, will keep you honest, top 10 in the league in three-point field goal percentage, but his ability to get to the rim, use his upper body strength to finish when he gets there, and that ability to be versatile offensively, knocking down shots and beating you to the basket, one of the reasons why he's had such a terrific senior season.
Well, he's got 1,858 career points, the third all-time leading scorer in Siena College history. And while his overall numbers this season don't overwhelm you as a player of the year at under 15 points per game, you've got to factor in the idea that he was in a shooting slump for a month early in the year and all the other intangibles that he brings to the table for this Siena club.
And when you get right down to it, best player on the best team, and that goes a long way to determining who's going to be the player of the year in the league. You asked Fran McCaffrey, he said he was never in question.
Yep. Jump ball, the alternate possession arrow points to the Griffs. 13-10. Canisius down by 3 with the ball.
And Siena with their three-quarter court trap. This was very effective. Remember, they were down the last time these teams met throughout most of the first half, and that pressure defense helped get them back into the lead.
Frazier, Coles, Vasquez, Simmons, Gadley, and Turner on the floor in gold for Canisius. 10 seconds to shoot. Turner spotting up, and he hits. We're tied at 13.
That's another deep one from Turner. He has stepped in with good confidence in each of his last 2 3-point shot attempts.
And the Griffs are on a 9-1 run to tie this thing very quickly. Here is Josh Duell, a young man from nearby Scotia, New York. Clarence Jackson denied by Vasquez Simmons. Here comes Frazier. Lot of contact and a charge called against the Griffs sophomore.
Well, there's the athleticism, though, of Canisius at both ends of the floor. It started with Vasquez Simmons and his block shot. He comes out of nowhere, and that starts the break. Frazier, one of the best athletes in the league, but his skill set's got to catch up to his athleticism. Right there, handle the basketball, try and slide by the defender instead. Just barreled right through.
And Vasquez Simmons, should he stay healthy and at Canisius for 4 years, will shatter all of the shot block records. I mean, it won't even be close.
Yep. He's already up to number 6 with now 135 blocks in his career. Had 5 last night against Loyola.
He's had as many as 8 blocks in a game a couple of times. Last year against Navy, earlier this season against Manhattan. Both of those setting a school record for a single game.
And his ability to wipe away shots inside, one of the reasons why they lead the MAAC in field goal percentage defense at just under 40%.
And they are 31st in the country at that stat.
I mean, think about it. That's an easy layup for Jackson. Instead, it's a missed shot.
Yep. Kyle Downey on the all-rookie team knocks down his first field goal attempt. His big brother, you'll remember, was a star at Canisius. The Griffs did not offer him a scholarship last year, and Fran McCaffrey scooped him up late when Chris De La Rosa left this Siena program. Downey was still available, and he has been a valuable part of the Saints program.
I guarantee you, Tom Peratum, they want to take a mulligan on that one.
A lot of coaches around the MAAC would like to take a mulligan on that one.
Well, and everybody's defense, including Tom Peratum, who's banged up during his senior season, and really guys didn't get an opportunity to really get a true evaluation of what he can do. Yet another turnover, though, for Canisius. As we said, that has just been a problem all season long, averaging 16 turnovers per game, now with 7.
Jackson, no good. Downey going to be called for the over-the-back foul. Goldsberry had position. Downey's from Fairport, New York, just outside of Rochester. That's the 4th team foul against Siena and number 1 against Downey. Canisius has 1 second to get it across. They do. Gadley double teamed on the low post. Has to lob it out, and there's a steal for Hasbrook. Here comes Jackson on the wing. Hasbrook keeps himself, and the finger roll is good.
And how about that body control? We saw on the other end where Frazier just barreled through. Hasbrook's got the skill set to avoid the defender and finish.
Hasbrook went for as many as 33 earlier this year. He's got 10 already here tonight.
Little beef in that matchup in the post, huh? Duell leaning on Gadley. That's tipping the scales inside.
Absolutely. A couple of big boys on the weak side as we speak. Now on the strong side. Turner, step back. Hasbrook may have gotten a piece. It's an air ball with just over 9 minutes remaining in the first half. Nice look inside. Jackson off the up fake. This time doesn't have anybody behind him to block that shot.
When a bad shot turns into a quick score on the other end, it's just about the same as a turnover.
And you'll recognize as Gadley misfires, Jackson knew where Vasquez Simmons was that time, up fake, and went to the other side of the rim. Hasbrook way off the mark that time, and Vasquez Simmons clears to quiet the crowd.
Well, they had Gadley inside. He's open. You got to get him a touch in there.
He's a young man who transferred back to Western New York after beginning his college career at Hofstra. Missed some time this year with injury, but when he is healthy and on the floor, like you say, you've got to throw it into him. Foul on the shot. Nearly went. Instead, it'll be 2 free throws for the Golden Griffins. Foul on Downey, his second. Check that. Foul on Jackson. Number 1 on Jackson. So Downey still has just a 1. 5 team fouls against Siena. And Julius Coles, a sophomore from Harlem, at the line. Well, we've talked about the big 3 for Canisius. So far, Coles and Logans are both scoreless through the first 12 minutes. Coles now on the board. Turner has upheld his part of the bargain with 8 points.
They just haven't been able to throw the ball inside to the likes of Greg Logans as he checks back in. Cole's been playing real good basketball coming down the stretch. Had a good game last night with 18 against Loyola. Double figures in 18 of their last 21 games.
Coles gets a pair. Hasbrook, Ubilis, both on the first team All-MAAC roster. Out there with Downey, Dool, and Rossiter. Downey with an air ball. Logan's hands off to Turner. Now Frank Turner brings it back out. Under 8 minutes remaining in the first half. Another turnover. Downey trying to make him pay at the other end. Can't do it. Hasbrook winds up on the deck, and here come the Griffs the other way. Coles turns around and comes back to Goldsberry. Backdoor pass. Nice look. Tough shot off the mark. Dool stood his ground to make it tough on Coles, and then the foul against Canisius.
Great feed by Goldsberry. You got to convert.
Couldn't convert on the back door. We had to break. Siena on top of Canisius by 4.
In a college. Cutting-edge academic programs, a faculty that's second to none, great recreational opportunities and residence halls. How about a college that will provide you with the education you need to become a leader in your profession and in your community? If that's what you're looking for in a college, you'll find it at Canisius. To learn more about Canisius College, call 1-800-843-1517 or visit us on the web at canisius.edu. Canisius College, where leaders are made.
A rowdy section of what they call the C block out at Canisius College has made the trip east along the New York State Thruway, and not quite as primed as in last night's first round matchup, but bringing it nonetheless here tonight. Get your tickets now for the MAAC Baseball Championships at Waterfront Park in Trenton, New Jersey. It's May 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, and you can buy tickets by calling 609-394-3300 or go to MAACsports.com for more information. Can't imagine that a group of college kids on a road trip would be a little more fatigued the second night than the first, Rod. What would you attribute that to?
They were getting after it last night. That's all I can tell you.
Well, the games last night went till past midnight, and I'm guessing their off-court games went a little longer.
So those last stat right there, 9 turnovers for Canisius. One of the reasons why Siena's had 10 more field goal attempts here in this first half so far.
Well, while we've talked about the shooting difficulties for the most part this season for Canisius, this building this year has been very friendly for the Griffs as Ubilis misfires. Rossiter misfires. Canisius in its 2 games, both last night and in their regular season matchup with Siena, shot 52% here. And as a player, when you come into a building, Rob, you know that, right? You remember, you recognize, boy, I felt good here the last couple of times around.
And offensively, both times they played Siena, they felt good. They shot it over 50% in both their games, but they were both losses because they turned the basketball over. Oh, my goodness, right on cue.
Yep.
Double-figure turnovers already. You just got to value the basketball. How about Tom Parada's team's down 4, despite the fact they're kicking it all over?
Yep. They're on pace for about 30 turnovers, yet trailing the #1 seed by just 4 points. Kenny Hasbrook, Ryan Rossiter, Alex Franklin, Owen Wignott into the ball game, along with Edwin Ubilis, who has been quiet at the start. First team All-Conference junior from Poughkeepsie. Rossiter on the little slip screen. A chance for 3 off the nice feed from Hasbrook.
And then a little look away to that student section as well. But Rossiter, playing with such confidence, sets the screen, slips it nicely, fights right through the contact, building up those points in the paint. Been able to punch it inside. When he gets the ball, he converts, acknowledging that section right there after the make.
Well, Rob, there was an article in the local paper earlier this week about the fact that Rossiter is kind of a lightning rod for the other players around the league and the fans from other teams around the league, much the same way as J.J. Redick was in the ACC a few years ago. And for some reason, Ryan Rossiter says it's his boyish good looks. He usually has the attention, if you will, of the opposing team and their fans. Kenny Hasbrook with the floater. How about the touch? He's now got 12 points.
Quickly into the double figures, and he's come to play right from the start. Last year's tournament MVP, off to a good start here in their first game.
Siena is the reigning MAAC tournament champ. They've won or shared each of the last 2 regular season titles. Trying to make it into the semifinals where Fairfield awaits tomorrow. Goldsberry putting his chin where it shouldn't be, but he gets the call again. He is tremendous at drawing charges, the personal against Ubilis.
Oh, and he's on your team. He's a terrific guy stepping up. When you're playing against him, he's a pest.
Yep.
I mean, he's physical. He's not afraid to throw his body around. Tom Parada inserted him into the starting lineup 5 games ago, and that's when they got themselves on a roll, because of his hustle and because he's done a great job at taking care of the basketball. 26 assists to just 4 turnovers during that stretch. If the rest of his teammates would take care of the basketball like that, they'd be right in this ball game.
6.5 to 1 on the assist to turnover ratio for Mr. Goldsberry. Turner, terrific move. Somehow he's able to go in amongst the trees and lay it in.
Now a great ball handler, the nice crossover. He gets where he wants.
Alex Franklin hammered. Goldsberry came flying in, and both he and Franklin are down.
And Goldsberry, I tell you what, he may have been knocked out.
Certainly looks it from that shot, as he is attended to immediately. Well, now he's moving as they tend to him. Alex Franklin is up on his feet. Well, Goldsberry, as we have talked about, gives up his body with anybody, and you could see he hit the top of Franklin's head as he was also being crunched from the side from his teammate.
He gives up the hard foul, and then he takes the worst of it.
So you've got big baby Rashawn Johnson at 275 coming from the backside. The elbow hits the back of Goldsberry's head, and then his chin hits the top of Franklin's head.
And it's going to be a delayed call, but they're going to call it as an intentional foul. Tom Parada saying, hey, you didn't call it initially. You only called it after Fran McCaffrey got after all the officials. But we saw it was from behind, and as we said, it certainly was a hard foul given up.
And it was the double hit.
Yep. And he went down hard.
So Robert Goldsberry, a sophomore from Troy, Ohio, is being tended to while each coach talks things over in their respective huddles. Take another look. Franklin goes up. Goldsberry from behind. Gets hit by the elbow first. And then his chin hits the top of Franklin's head.
And I'll tell you what, it's a hard foul, but he got part of the basketball, and it didn't look like he tackled. He couldn't have tackled. He was knocked out, so he couldn't grab and go. And he went down hard. We talked about how hard he plays last night. Right here in front of us, he knocked this whole scores table out as he went diving for a loose ball.
Now the round of applause.
See him sitting up now.
Sitting, and they're checking the back of his head because, again, he took the double whammy.
They see blood all over the place.
And you wonder if indeed the initial blow to the back of the head did render him unconscious first, as he is going to be helped hopefully right to the locker room. Indeed, he will go right in and be tended to, and I'd be very surprised if we see Mr. Goldsberry again here tonight.
Yeah, it looks like blood on the back of his head as well as his chin. Got it on both sides.
Well, he, if you look at his chin, it looks like the knee of a 10-year-old. I mean, he has more scars on his chin than I did as a young teenager. Goldsberry earlier this year wound up having a number of stitches, 5 to be exact, after a collision against Fairfield back in January, and it's just par for the course. But that was not your run-of-the-mill garden variety collision.
So Franklin got fouled, but he will not shoot the foul shots because he's out. You see the ice on the back of his head. So substitution coming in, and it will end up being Josh Dool to take the foul shots once they get all the blood removed from the floor.
Franklin is a 62% foul shooter, second team all conference, and Dool is a 78% foul shooter.
Remember, in college basketball, you can put whoever you want in to shoot foul shots. In the NBA, the opposing coach picks who's going to shoot the foul shots. So you always pick the guy with the better foul shooting percentage.
And Duell makes Coach McCaffrey look very smart by knocking down both foul shots. Duell began his college career at the University of Vermont playing for Tom Brennan, who, by the way, the Catamounts got knocked out of the America East tournament earlier today here in Albany, which is going on simultaneously in their first round game against Albany. Hasbrook from 17. The stoppage in play has not slowed down the senior co-captain. He's now got 14 points.
I got the mismatch on the screen and took full advantage of it. Efficient on the offensive end, 6 of 10 from the floor. He's been aggressive right from the first time he touched the basketball.
Under 5 minutes to go first half. Coles, Frazier, and Turner around the perimeter. Vasquez, Simmons, and Johnson up front. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Vasquez Simmons thought about it. Instead, Coles penetrates on Downey. Nice looking pull-up.
And that's where Coles is at his best. Putting the ball to the floor, getting into gaps. Nice pull-up once he got there.
The former Blair Academy star in New Jersey. Now with 4 points. Bad miss by Hasbrook this time. And a whistle and a foul against Siena. Personal against Josh Duell. And the 7th against Siena.
Coles putting the ball to the floor, gets by Downey. Good elevation once he gets there. Nice jump stop and body control to square his shoulders to finish off the play.
Vasquez Simmons, a 6'7" sophomore from Rochester. Grew up about an hour from the Canisius campus out in Buffalo. And Tom Parada's done a nice job of cultivating talent over the last couple of years from Western New York. Greg Logan's also from Sodus. Elton Frazier from Central New York and Syracuse, a couple of hours away from the campus there in Buffalo. Josh Duell takes a breather, and good to see Alex Franklin back in. It was he who was part of the collision that has knocked Robert Goldsberry out of the game. Vasquez Simmons with a pair. Siena playing with 2 freshmen and a sophomore. There's one of the freshmen, Wignott, banking it home.
He had a good game the first time these two teams played when he was 3 for 4 from the field. He was aggressive on that catch and drive.
Turner going to be called for the double dribble. 3:59 on the clock here in the first half at the Times Union Center in Albany. Quarterfinal number 2 of the MAAC tournament. Siena leads by 5. Welcome back to the Citizens Bank MAAC Championships presented by Pepsi Max. Siena leads by 5, but the baton has been taken out of the Maestro's hands, and that has really affected Siena. Ronald Moore, their point guard, out with 2 fouls.
And their offense just not as smooth, and they've not been in an offensive rhythm with him on the bench with those 2 fouls. And you look at their numbers, they're shooting just 32%. And one of the big reasons, Ronald Moore sitting down, limited minutes, and 0 for 4 from the field after having a terrific weekend out in Western New York when he averaged 19.5 points and 6.5 assists in their weekend out in Western New York.
Well, certainly he is the straw that stirs the drink for Siena, and without him the drink has gotten a little bit stale here in the first half.
A couple quick transition baskets, and since then Canisius has cleaned up their transition defense, and they've not allowed Siena to get into that rhythm.
Turner turns it over again. That is 12. And if Canisius just took care of the ball, maybe got Greg Logan's involved, where would they be? They are down just 5 as we play our second men's quarterfinal here in Albany. Doug Sherman, Rob Kennedy. You know, if you're Siena, you've got to be thinking, wait a second. They're playing poorly, and we're only up 5.
Because they've dictated how this game has been played. The one thing that Canisius has done is they've been physical.
Well, there's a little more offense off the bench for Siena. Owen Wignott with 5 points after canning the corner 3.
Again, another freshman with limited minutes.
So far, Siena's star-studded starting lineup. Ronald Moore, no points. Alex Franklin, no points. Edwin Ubelis, 2 points. And the bench points for Siena, 11. Three-pointer for Elton Frazier. 32-27, back to a 5-point game. Hasbrook distributes to Franklin, blocked by Vasquez Simmons.
And that time he just held his ground.
Turner was open for 3, steps in, misfires from 15, and Rossiter with a rebound. Hasbrook has taken over the point guard duties, which he has played off and on throughout his entire 4-year career. But he does not sacrifice his own offense. 17 points now for the player of the year. And there is his father, Jeffrey, a disabled veteran who, along with his wife, make the long drive from Washington, D.C. up for most home games here in Albany. And he is here. And what a great situation it was last year at the MAAC tournament when his son won MAAC tournament player of the year. And that just continues here this season.
They got up here early. They were here Thursday for the awards ceremony, able to see their son take away the hardware as the MAAC Player of the Year.
Well, his mom, Deborah, is a great facilitator for Jeffrey, as he also has a brother and a sister who are around regularly, and great support coming halfway up the Atlantic seaboard on such a regular basis to support Kenny Hasbrook. Shot clock at 12. Wignot's had the hot hand, and that continues.
Talk about a little confidence from the freshman. As we said, he's seen limited minutes throughout the season, averaging just 2 points, but as we said, had 7 the first time they played Canisius. So every once in a while, maybe it's a matchup that works to your favor.
Well, he's a young man from Dallas, Pennsylvania, who was recruited by in-state schools Penn State and Temple, but he turned them down to come to Siena, and there's Wignot coming up with the steal.
So Canisius has let it get away from him a little bit here over the last couple of minutes.
Franklin tried to save the air ball by Hasbrook, but couldn't, and so the Griffs get it back. Coming up at halftime, we'll have a terrific sit-down interview that we did a couple of weeks ago with Siena coach Fran McCaffrey and Niagara coach Joe Mihalik in their efforts for Coaches versus Cancer. Both of them have been touched closely in their immediate families by that dreaded disease. We'll also have our first half highlights and statistics. That's coming up in under 30 seconds, our halftime report. Turner with a hand in his face, misses the 2. Rossiter clear, shot clock turned off. And the Saints, who have stretched the lead to 10, can take a last shot here in the first half.
And Hasbrook will be the guy with the ball in his hand to make a play.
Being guarded by Frazier. Rossiter sets the screen. Johnson blocked it. Then Frazier knocked it out of bounds. Siena will have 1.7 seconds to work. Timeout Siena. The 2009 MAAC Coach of the Year, Fran McCaffrey, wants to set something up.
Well, it's a use it or lose it timeout. You might as well set it up. Opportunity to try and extend this 10-point lead. Wignot's gotten them out to this 10-point lead. Their offense was stagnant, and that's one of the great things about this Siena Saint team. They've got a lot of offensive weapons. They've got great balance out of their starting lineup, but certainly their bench has been effective and beyond just Clarence Jackson, who was honored earlier this week as the MAAC Sixth Man of the Year.
Siena is the #1 seed. They went 16-2 during the regular season, matching the all-time conference record for regular season wins, along with LaSalle, who went unbeaten back in a different configuration, different time, back in 1989-90. And then one of the great Luis Flores teams of a few years ago at Manhattan went 16-2 as well. So Siena is the favorite here this weekend, but certainly a number of teams capable of knocking them off.
And watch Franklin, after setting the screen, trying to slip himself inside.
There it is. Franklin comes down with it, gets it off before the horn, count the basket, and Siena takes all the momentum into the locker room.
Oh, great job setting it up and executing by Fran McCaffrey. Nice little play as he stepped up, tried to set the screen. That's why you take that timeout with 1.7 seconds left, and they took full advantage Kenny Hasbrook came out on fire right from the get-go, and he was a big story in the first half.
Franklin caps a 7-0 run into the intermission, and the Saints have their biggest lead of the night.
At Fairfield University, we explore big questions, complicated ideas, and unlimited possibilities.
In a community of learners representing diverse beliefs, opinions, and experiences.
Actively engaged in a caring, supportive, and fun community.
Our education prepares us to be thoughtful, global citizens, serving the common good.
At Fairfield University, you will get an inspiring education
For an inspired life.
Welcome back to the Citizens Bank MAAC Championships presented by Pepsi Max. We are at the Times Union Center in Albany, New York. Our score 39-27, Siena with a 12-point lead, just moments away from the start of the second half. And in the first half, this is what it looked like, Rob.
Well, it was too many turnovers for Canisius, and then Siena able to convert at the other end. Kenny Hasbrook with a big first half. He got started early and often. Siena was able to take advantage in the paint, a clear advantage inside, 14-6 against Canisius. Early on, the Golden Griffs able to knock down a couple of threes, including that one from Robert Goldsby, this one from Frank Turner. So when their guards were able to take some threes, they knocked them down. Too many threes from their bigs to start the first half for Tom Parada.
And to begin the second half, we receive word that indeed Robert Goldsberry is out for the rest of the night, but he is back in uniform wearing number 21. And initially, the initial report at halftime we got was that he would be potentially available, but then they have put the kibosh on that, saying that indeed he does have a mild head injury to go along with the stitches that they have just placed into his chin. So Goldsberry is sitting on the bench for Canisius for the rest of the night. The bucket by Rossiter makes it a 41-27 Siena lead, and the run continues that was 7-0 to end the first half. To begin here the second half, let's take a look at the FYE first half statistics.
Well, certainly early on, Canisius didn't shoot the basketball well. How about Siena? 16 of 40 from the floor, just 40%. But the fact that they were able to mount those points in the paint, got another two here quick to start it, and that 7-0 run, and the fact that they were able to force those 13 first half turnovers against Canisius.
Well, you know, the two top teams in this league this year, Rob, Siena and Niagara, as Vasquez Simmons has to fire away. Logan's with the rebound, right back to the bucket for his first two.
Well, if his teammates won't throw it to him in the post, maybe he's got to go get himself a couple opportunities. First offensive rebound for Canisius.
And there's a defensive rebound for Elton Frazier. Turner back the other way, and with style, they have ended that 9-0 Siena run with 4 quick points. Ronald Moore answers back at the other end.
Well, as you said, even on a made basket, you got to sprint back and stop the basketball. You've got to make sure that you find Ronald Moore early in the possession defensively. If you don't, he'll just advance the basketball. That time he advanced it all the way deep into the paint.
Rossiter steals the pass away from Vasquez Simmons. Moore, tough runner. Franklin on the offensive glass. Up fake got Frazier and Vasquez both up in the air. Bad shot by Ubilis, hit the corner of the backboard, and it's Canisius ball.
And I think Ronald Moore, that was a pass attempt. I think he just put it up on the board to allow his teammate Franklin to go get it.
Frazier, little step back mid-range shot. Franklin rebound. Here comes Moore pushing tempo.
And if you want to run, you've got to rebound. Certainly Siena took care of that in the first half. Out rebounding Canisius by 4.
For the Saints, Hasbrook's got 16 after that. Moore has 2, Ubilis 2, Franklin 2. Rossiter's got 6, Wignot 8, and Josh Duell a pair of free throws. Ubilis fouled by Frazier. Well, I was beginning to say a little bit earlier that the two best teams in the league, Siena and Niagara, turn you over. I mean, they force turnovers like nobody's business. Niagara amongst the best in the country, and Siena not too far behind, as we take another look at why Ubilis is at the free throw line.
Well, they both do a great job with turnover margin. You look at Siena, plus 3.2 in the turnover category. And when you do that, when you force turnovers and take care of the basketball at your own end, those extra shot opportunities become so big.
Here's another stat that will really illustrate some of those points. Siena coming into this game had made 456 foul shots. Their opponents had attempted exactly that, 456.
They don't foul. They do a good job of not getting themselves in foul trouble. They're not a great foul shooting team, but they get there because they pound the basketball inside. They throw it into Rossiter. They throw it into Franklin. And their guards get into gaps, drive the basketball, and they get themselves to the foul line.
That formula here tonight has them on top by 14. Catch and shoot from the corner well short. Elton Frazier couldn't find the range. Turner back over to Coles. Quick catch and release, and that time the line drive three goes in. 7 points for the sophomore from Harlem. 45-34 Siena. Ubilis from the head of the key. He's got it.
And now all of a sudden with Ronald Moore back on the floor, Siena's back into that offensive rhythm. You look at all their offensive numbers and they just jump out at you, averaging nearly 78 points per game, field goal percentage at 47%. They share the basketball, 15 assists per game. It all starts with the rhythm, and it all starts with the ball in Ronald Moore's hand.
Frazier answers back at the other end for the Griffs, 48-36. Ubilis, tough pass. Hasbrook able to save. Wow. Looked like a wide receiver making a one-handed catch along the sideline.
Nothing on Santonio Holmes right there.
My goodness.
Keeping both feet in bounds.
Listen to you going Steelers on me.
Absolutely.
Win a Super Bowl and all of a sudden that's the only reference you can come up with.
A good one.
Ubilis, terrific look to Ryan Rossiter.
A good hustle to go track it down, and presence of mind to keep his head. Look, see what he's got, and found Rossiter wide open.
9 for Rossiter, the sophomore from Staten Island, just about at his season average. Good ball movement to find Turner in the lane, but his teardrop comes up well short. Hasbrook looking around, finds the trailing Ubilis, who's a terrific finisher, but he couldn't handle the pass. Rossiter's attempted pass winds up hitting the back of the backboard and turning it over to Canisius. The Canisius Golden Griffins trying to hang around with the #1 seeds. Elton Frazier with the flush. Back in Albany with Siena leading Canisius 50-36 early second half. It's the Citizens Bank MAAC Basketball Championship presented by Pepsi Max. Congratulations to other conference champions from around the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, including the Iona Gales men's cross country team, which again this season finished second in the country. Needless to say, they won the MAAC championship as well. Congratulations to the other winners. And there's some of the hardware down in New Rochelle that they have on display if you visit the Hines Athletic Center for their spectacular running program. Doug Sherman, Rob Kennedy with you at the Times Union Center in downtown Albany. One of 2 conference tournaments here in the capital of New York State ongoing this weekend. The America East Conference is uptown at the University at Albany. Hasbrook clears the miss. Siena on top by 14. Ubilis, nice up fake. Once again finds Rossiter for the easy 2.
Well, that's the difference. Siena's getting easy basket. Ball fake gets the first defender by him, and always looking for his teammate.
Quick answer by Elton Frazier. Rossiter, his own up fake, then right to the rim for the rattle home dunk.
Hard to get around Gadley, but he was able to do that and finish. But he's got good face-up skills, so when he shows the basketball, you've got to respect that ball fake.
Rossiter now 13 points, 9 rebounds, nearing another double-double. Siena, with its largest lead, has forced a timeout called by Tom Parada. We'll step away with this break in the action. Siena has opened up the 16-point lead.
St. Peter's College, success is a team effort. St. Peter's College, education one student at a time.
Siena's Edwin Ubilis showing just recently why he made the first team All-MAAC squad. Not just scoring the basketball, but doing other things.
Well, we talked about the fact that everybody shares the basketball. Ubilis with a nice feed to find Rossiter inside. Not once, but twice. And these easy baskets, one of the reasons why they've been able to stretch out the lead.
Ryan Rossiter on the receiving end, plus his rattle home dunk to give him 13 points and 9 rebounds. And there's Mr. Ubilis. Mr. Smooth. Ubilis averages 14.7 points per game. He's got 7 so far tonight, but picking up with the offensive rebound and a couple of assists as Siena has opened up its largest lead of the game. Clarence Jackson has come back into the ball game for the Saints. He defends on Coles, who misses. Ubilis with another rebound.
Siena's done a really good job on the defensive backboard.
Ubilis coast to coast. Contact made, and Vasquez Simmons called for the foul.
As we said before, if you want to run, you got to rebound the basketball, and they certainly have been able to do that tonight. Shutting out Canisius in the first half with 0 offensive rebounds. You know what happens? You start worrying so much about the transition defense that the ball goes up, and your tendency is, Coach been yelling at me, we got to get back in transition. And now all of a sudden you bail out of a couple opportunities. That and the fact that their bigs are hanging out at the three-point line too often at times. They've not been able to get some easy opportunities on the offensive board.
That's a good point. Meanwhile, we just saw Edwin Ubilis, the 6'6" wing, who probably next year will play a little bit more point guard once Kenny Hasbrook has moved on. Ronald Moore is the undisputed point guard, but for potentially playing at the next level, they talk about Ubilis trying to play more and more at the point. He did a little bit in their summer tour of Italy back in August. Traveling violation called against Turner.
Well, Siena comes out with that three-quarter court trap and backing off, and Turner just turns it over once again. 15 turnovers as Canisius continues to kick it around.
Rossiter fouled by Vasquez Simmons.
His teammates have made a concerted effort to get Rossiter the ball inside here in this second half.
Well, he won more Conference Player of the Week awards than anybody else on the roster. He's got 2. Most everybody else has 1, so they should feed him the basketball.
And certainly when All League was announced earlier this week, a lot of people thought that Rossiter was going to find himself onto one of those teams. He's had that type of season.
Ubilis smoothly knocks it off the glass.
And that's what he does. At times it's effortless. Next year, with the graduation of Kenny Hasbrook, he's going to have to be a little bit more assertive on the offensive end. At times he's very comfortable with blending in. Next year he's going to have to be a little bit more.
But you know, that's his natural personality. He went an entire year in his childhood really not saying a word after his mom passed away, and he's moved from Brooklyn up to Poughkeepsie, and he's just a quiet kid by nature, so who knows if he can or will evolve into that type of leadership role next year as a senior.
Oh, he certainly has the tools to do it.
Yep.
But whether or not he's got the personality to be one of those take charge and take over players, but he'll have that opportunity next year. Certainly that role falls to Kenny Hasbrook now, but with his graduation, that'll be one of the big keys for Siena next year.
Well, after his mom, Barbara Williams, died young at the age of 31, Pete Sheehan, the athletic director at Poughkeepsie High School, wound up really mentoring him through his teen years and then through his association through AAU basketball with the Albany City Rocks. He has come out of that shell and really had a terrific 3-year run at Siena so far. Shot clock violation. The Siena defense turns over the Griffs one more time. 57-38. Siena used a 7-0 burst to end the first half, and they have burst things open, led by Edwin Ubilis. Here in the second half, the smooth reverse for number 23. He's got 11, and the crowd here at the Times Union Center loves it.
And Doug, that just cannot happen. You turn it over. It's a turnover where all of a sudden it stopped because of the shot clock violation. Nobody is guarding Ubilis. A missed defensive assignment. Notice he went to the other side of the basket once he saw Vasquez Simmons coming at him. He's got terrific body control, and as you said, smooth in just about everything he does on the basketball floor.
Well, 10 of his 12 points have come since the intermission. His career high 37 points against Loyola last in February, the most by a Siena Saint since Doremus Bennerman went for 51 against Kansas State in the NIT consolation game down at Madison Square Garden. And Doremus Bennerman's name came up this week as one of only 3 Siena players ever to have won the MAAC Player of the Year award. Mark Brown was the first in '91, and Bennerman a few years later. And then Kenny Hasbrook this year, the third Saint to win the biggest award each year in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference.
Though I think he'd tell you last year's tournament MVP was the biggest award.
Yep.
Certainly wants to try and finish off his senior season.
Well, this is a Siena team that is deep and experienced. You'll remember they went to the NCAA tournament last year and knocked off Vanderbilt soundly in the opening round before losing to Villanova in the second round. Jump shot by Turner short. Rebound picked up by Ronald Moore, and they just keep their foot on the throttle.
And that's the guy who's driving the bus. Full throttle ahead. Missed shot, and here comes Ronald Moore right up your back.
61-38. Well, Canisius played late last night in the opening round game, and they knocked off Loyola 74-68. And after trailing by as many as 9 points in the first half, the Griffs got it going with Frank Turner leading the way. Logan's playing very, very well. Also held the conference scoring king Jamal Barney to just 4 points last night.
And a guy who had that defensive assignment most of the night is Goldsberry, who, as we said, out after going down hard.
Ronald Moore, who, as you mentioned, Rob, finished the regular season so strong out in Western New York last weekend. Misfires. Canisius ball, and the home folks here in the capital region don't like it. There is Mr. Goldsberry with his fresh stitches in the chin, likely not to be back tonight.
This is Siena, a college that builds competence and character, where you're part of a team, a place of academic rigor that builds leaders, offering opportunity and values that prepare you for change, leadership, and life. The tradition, the community of Siena, educating for success, one student at a time.
The 2009 Citizens Bank MAAC Basketball Championships are brought to you by Pepsi Max, your world gone Max. FYE, strictly for your entertainment. Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the MAAC. New York Lottery, hey, you never know. Sirius XM, everything worth listening to is now on Sirius XM. And by the 2009 Citizens Bank MAAC Basketball Championships. Get your tickets now by calling 1-800-30-EVENT or by logging on to timesunion.com. MAAC Madness, the tradition continues. Welcome back to the Citizens Bank MAAC Championships presented by Pepsi Max. Tom Parada's club has been steamrolled so far here in the second half by the consensus preseason pick of the coaches to win the MAAC championship this year. Siena looking very good through the first 9 minutes here in the second half.
Yeah, their offense is clicking, shooting it at 60% here in the second half.
Elton Frazier into the paint for 2. Now, Kenny Hasbrook led the way in the first half for the Saints with 16 points, and his teammates have picked him up here in the second half. Ubilis, one of those players who has really picked it up, although he turns it over there. 10 of the 12 points on the scoreboard for number 23 have come since the break. Also, Ryan Rossiter again, fairly quietly, 13 points, 9 rebounds, on the verge of yet another double-double.
And all he does is catch and finish. 6 of 8 from the floor. His teammates find him. Does a real good job of converting. One of the reasons why he leads the league at 63%.
Coles with a head of steam. Offensive foul against the 6'4" sophomore from Canisius. Our first quarterfinal went to the Fairfield Stags earlier today, 68-61. They knocked off Manhattan in the 5-4 game. Eubulus here for the #1 seeded Siena Saints, trying to dispose of the #9 seed from Canisius.
And you can't run into that high ball screen or try to slip behind it. If you do, Eubulus has the ability to knock it down.
Well, Eubulus's perimeter jump shot looks about the same as last year, but his numbers have gone down dramatically. He was well over 40% on three-pointers last year. He's in the 20% range, in the mid-20s this year. And in talking to assistant coach Mitch Bonaguro last week, asking him why have the numbers dipped so much, he feels that Eubulus is one of those players who has really been impacted this year by the three-point line being moved back 1 foot. That 19-9 was within his range, 29 just a bit outside.
That's where you got to spend some time in the offseason extending your range to make sure that now, as you're towing the line, you're towing it a foot back.
And in the meantime, Eubulus has not taken as many threes later in the year, driving more to the bucket as he just did there, and a chance to get 2 at the free throw line.
Yeah, when you look at this team, Siena's a team that doesn't fall in love with the three all the time. Fran McCaffrey's team plays some old-fashioned basketball, driving the basketball, posting it up. And because they don't settle for too many threes and don't take too many threes, one of the reasons why their field goal percentage is so good.
And I should say that he has raised his three-point numbers up to 28%, but still a far cry from where they were his sophomore season when he was at 45%.
And again, as a freshman, a lot of guys didn't know he could shoot the basketball and not getting out to pressure him. Able to shoot it so much better his first 2 seasons.
16 now for Eubulus.
Really worked on it in that offseason between his freshman year when, as you said, he jumped his numbers from 27% up to 42% as a sophomore. Got to get back into the gym this summer and really work on that.
Bob Bevilacqua is checked into the ball game for the first time for Canisius as Coles was fouled. Clarence Jackson is whistled for his second, and that is just the first team foul against Siena here in the second half. You may hear some boos from the Siena student section. They are reacting to some red-clad fans leaving the building, and I'm guessing they are Fairfield fans. The Stags won the first quarterfinal here earlier today and are waiting in the semifinals for the Saints tomorrow night, assuming they hold on to this sizable lead at 65-43.
I think that's the Maris band, because there's about 800 of them, because that's about the size of their band as they're going up.
That's true. That's a pretty long line. When we're at the McCann Center, they take up that one huge section of the baseline stands. Franklin fouled on the entry pass from Vasquez Simmons.
Yep, that's what it is.
Where are the instruments, though?
Yeah, they got him. See right there? He's carrying a clarinet or something on his way. Yeah, a little briefcase ready to go.
Where's the tuba player? Everybody's got a flute.
Tuba must have went early. Nice pick and roll.
Terrific pick and roll, and Alex Franklin got the jump step on Vasquez Simmons.
We'll see that a few times. Perfect execution out of the pick and roll. Again, this is the Siena team that doesn't worry about pick and pop like a whole lot of people do. Don't fall in love with the three. Instead, a little old-fashioned basketball. Pick and roll. Well, there's nothing old-fashioned about this finish, though. Franklin coming right at you.
Well, at the behest of some of his teammates, Franklin has gone much stronger to the rim with the idea of dunking everything this year, and you could see it right there.
And 2 hands. That's the key. If you're going to go throw it down with 2 hands. Siena stays in this three-quarter court trap. It's been effective for them.
Bevilacqua with his first field goal attempt. Logan's on the offensive glass and the putback.
And you can see why when he gets touches, when he's inside, He is a load. He is hard to handle inside.
6'7", 240, terrific hands, terrific feet.
And he's so quick and powerful. And
he had a monster game last night, 19 and 13. Last 5 games, averaging 16 points. He's a double-double threat every night if they get him the basketball.
And last night they did. Every key possession, they threw it into him in the post. Just hasn't been able to get as many good post-ups here today.
5 to shoot. Ronald Moore has some space. Tipped by Franklin, no. And the rebound goes to Chris Gadley. Turner to Coles. No. Moore, the rebound for Siena. And now the Maestro holds his hand up to say we'll slow it down just a bit. With under 7.5 minutes remaining in the lead up to 68-45. The Saints are going to take a little time.
No need to rush. And again, they come in to this weekend thinking about winning 3 games in 3 days. And so when you have an opportunity to take a little rest, take some time off the clock with a comfortable lead, go ahead and take advantage.
Nice feed. Eubulus, though, had it stripped away by his co-rookie of the year from a couple of years ago, Frank Turner, who in turn gets his pocket pick. Moore takes a look to Eubulus. And the alley-oop is finished.
And when he looks and he sees that it's Edwin Eubulus running with him, he'll go throw it up. That's a smart basketball play, knowing who's running with you.
Eubulus with 16 of his 18 points since halftime. And as we head to break, let's take another look at the MAAC's #1 assist man. Size up the defense. You saw the glance back to Eubulus and the lob. It's all Siena right now. They love Siena head coach Fran McCaffrey here in Albany, the MAAC Coach of the Year for 2009. Welcome back to the Times Union Center, everybody. And our Pepsi Max slams of the game. We start on the pick and roll with Alex Franklin, and then you know, after Franklin throws it down again, where we're going for slam #2.
Well, a little alley-oop. It starts with the great feed, and Edwin Eubulus can finish with the best of them here in this league.
Our Pepsi Max slams of the game, and there's Mr. Eubulus now with 18 points.
So it wasn't Ryan Rossiter's dink, huh? The one that he snuck in, going around Gadley?
It was under consideration. But I think if you even ask Ryan, he would tell you the other two deserve a little higher notice.
Yeah, well, he probably wouldn't want to see that again. His teammates might have some fun with that.
It was a relatively close ball game at halftime, 39-27. 5 minutes earlier than that, it was a close ball game, but Siena used a 7-0 outburst right before the intermission to get a little space, and they have taken it from there here in half #2.
It's amazing. The guy with the basketball right now, how different, Doug, are they with him on the floor? There's a reason why Fran McCaffrey talks about how important Ronald Moore is to this team and why they call him the Maestro. He gets everybody going.
You know, Kenny Hasbrook, who had the 16 points in the first half, remains on the bench. He's sitting next to Alex Franklin, who's receiving further treatment on his head and back, neck and back, after taking that big collision with Goldsberry in the first half. But you talked about the idea that when you're the #1 seed, you're not just thinking about Saturday, you're thinking about Sunday and Monday as well.
Nope, this is a 3-game deal for them. They hope if they're able to win in the semifinals, but you got to go at it. And if you get the opportunity to get some guys rest, you got to take advantage of it.
Gadley has it rim out. He shakes his head running back down court. Just can't get it to fall. Moore and Jackson along with Eubulus, Wignott, and Rossiter. Well, no Siena team has ever won more than 25 games in a season. This would be number 24. Turner has it blocked out of bounds. Well, there's so much talk that's been done around the country, certainly here in the MAAC and in the Capital Region, about Siena's chances for securing an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament should they not be cutting down the nets on Monday night. And where do we stand at this point in your eyes, Rob?
Well, you know, it's so funny. Everybody's talking about him. You got pretty much a split amongst the national media. Guys like Joe Lenardi who had him in, and then all of a sudden they go on the road and they lose at Niagara, and everybody says, oh, well, you can forget about all that talk. Well, you can't forget about it because their RPI is so good. I mean, their RPI today sitting at 27. Their non-conference strength of schedule at #2. Certainly they don't have those RPI top 50 wins that I think probably are going to be hard for them to overcome if they don't win the MAAC championship. For them, they can't be worried about that. They're trying to make all that a moot point. You got to come here and try and win 3 games just like everybody else who steps in to the tournament. And certainly Niagara has shown, everybody forgets about Niagara at times. They've got 24 wins, a good solid RPI themselves.
Yeah.
They served notice last weekend at home with their blowout win, 100-85, as they really got it going offensively against this Siena team.
And after that win, you started to see Niagara pop up on some of the bubble watch talk among the national media members. And while they probably almost assuredly need to win the championship here for the MAAC to make it to the NCAA, they at least have themselves in the discussion as well.
And certainly they've put themselves in a discussion to play postseason play. Remember, Siena, if they don't win the MAAC tournament, they are at least guaranteed an NIT berth, and it'd be hard-pressed to imagine that Siena and Niagara both aren't going to be involved in postseason play.
Well, they both have the RPIs you spoke of, both going to be in that 24-25 win range. Clarence Jackson, the conference 6th man of the year, buries the 3-point shot.
And now with the advent of the CBI as well as the collegeinsider.com tournament, Ryder's alive. Remember, Ryder played in the CBI last year, the first year of that event. They'd kind of hoped that maybe they would get themselves an NIT bid, but their RPI was not as strong as, say, like Niagara's is this year. Niagara's at 60 last time I checked, and they've been hovering around there. One of the amazing things about the RPI, though, they beat Siena. They were at 59. The next day the RPI comes out, they went to 60. And they won at home and beat a team that at that time RPI had climbed up to 24, yet they went down a peg. Go figure.
For those of you in the New York metropolitan area, this game will be switching over to MSG 2. And for those of you in the Albany Buffalo areas, this game will be seen in its conclusion here on MSG. We are at the Times Union Center in Albany. Siena has opened up a 73-45 lead with under 3 minutes remaining, with a spot in the semifinals in the offing. Ball knocked out of bounds by Ryan Rossiter, and we have ourselves an officials timeout. Chris Club closing in on win number 24 on the year. Back in Albany, where Siena has a commanding lead late in the second half, it's the Citizens Bank MAAC Championship presented by Pepsi Max. Let's take a look at our FYE flashback. Just go back a year, the MAAC Championship game. Siena defeated Ryder 74-53 right here in Albany. Siena's 3rd MAAC Championship, and the fans went crazy. They see Ryan Thompson, who just cannot wait to get another chance. And there you see the tournament resume for Siena. 16-2 to match the all-time single-season conference record for wins. And that RPI you spoke of, strength of schedule, very good. But like you say, the dearth of top 50 victories is going to be the biggest thing that other people can throw against them and say, well, yes, you played at Kansas. Yes, you played at Pittsburgh. Yes, you played other games in neutral sites, but you didn't win any of them. You played some of them okay, but you didn't win.
Well, that's certainly the argument on the other side. The argument in their favor is that RPI at 27. Now, if they were to lose again in the MAAC tournament, where would that RPI drop to? That's the biggest question, because if it stays around where it is here now inside of 30, they're certainly alive. At 27, the only team that has not gotten into the NCAA tournament with an RPI better than them would have been Missouri State with an RPI of 21 back in 2006. But as we've said a couple of different times, Missouri State's non-conference RPI that year was 166, so they did not go out and play that challenging schedule the way that Siena has done. They've done what the committee has asked you to do. Go out and test yourself. Playing at Pitt and at Kansas, and as part of the Old Spice Classic, that's certainly one of the reasons why their non-conference strength of schedule so good at number 2 in the country.
And they lost as Bevilacqua does his Goldsberry impersonation, going over the scorers table. Fortunately, he pops right back up. Our Sirius satellite radio stats of the game. Canisius having its first struggle from the floor here in this building. They had shot so well last night and in the regular season game against Siena here at the TU Center, but not so much here tonight. And right from the beginning, Rob, we talked about shot selection not in their favor, that they just were settling for too many three-point shots.
They've not been able to establish that inside game. They haven't been able to get enough touches for the likes of Greg Logan's inside. And when you turn it over the way that they did, 13 turnovers in the first half, and have kicked it around here in the second half, now up to 21 turnovers, you just don't give yourself an opportunity to hang in there with a team as good as Siena.
Kyle Downey knocks down a couple of free throws. We should mention that Eric Harris and Steve Priestley have come into the game as well for Siena, along with walk-on Connor Fenlon. A.J. Hawkins is checked into the game from the end of the Canisius bench as well. Deshaun Johnson lost it. 1 minute to go in regulation. Shot clock at 5. Coles has it rattle out. Frazier with the cleanup. Kyle Downey now dribbling out. Let's see if Siena even takes a shot. I don't like now the trend that you don't even take a shot in the next to last possession. I like this. Fenlon taking a shot. Wignot lays it in. I don't mind it on the last possession. That's a nice sporting thing to do. But to
take
not
the
even shoot
violation,
that,
I don't like
that to me is the wrong way to go.
Give the walk-on a chance to throw it up.
Yep. Our Pepsi Max player of the game, who did not score a point in the second half, is Kenny Hasbrook. He took care of his job in the first half, single-handedly on the offensive end, keeping Siena alive when others were struggling. He is our Pepsi Max player of the game.
He got an opportunity to rest a lot here in the second half. And that's a key for Siena, not only getting a comfortable win, but not having to expend too much energy to get that win.
Bevilacqua, former walk-on for Canisius, now scholarship player as a senior, gets a three-pointer to fall. That's your ball game, and there's a look. All smiles on the Siena sideline for our Pepsi Max player of the game, Kenny Hasbrook. 16 points all in the first half. And the senior co-captain from the Washington, D.C. area will move on to the MAAC semifinals tomorrow night. He won last year's tournament MVP and trying to do the same here this weekend in Albany. Siena improves to 24-7. They have now won 19 straight ball games here at the Times Union Center, and they will face the Fairfield Stags tomorrow night in a game scheduled to start at 6 o'clock here at the TU Center. Fairfield won its quarterfinal earlier today, 68-61, and Siena advances 77-52. Individually, Edwin Ubilis was the offensive catalyst in the second half. He finished with 18 points. Ryan Rossiter, Owen Wignot, also big parts of the game. And then you saw Alex Franklin with the terrific pick-and-roll slam that was one of our two Pepsi Max slams of the game. A highlight reel performance from beginning to end in the second half for the Saints. And standing by now with the winning coach is Rob Kennedy. Rob?
Thanks, Doug. And with me, Fran McCaffrey. Don't worry about those stats. They were all good for you tonight. But, Coach, how important is it not only to get the win, but also get an opportunity to maybe rest some guys?
Well, I think it's important. It's very warm in this building right now. It was an up-tempo game for us. We were pushing the basketball. Kenny had to play a lot of minutes in the first half once Ronald went down with 2 fouls. So I wanted to get him a rest and to be able to leave him out, to rest Ryan Rossiter, get Franklin out. He took a pretty good blow to the head there in the first half. So I think it was really good for our team.
Everybody talks about your offense, and rightfully so. You guys are really good when you get it going. When Ronald was out, though your offense a little different with him sitting on the bench.
Well, you know, nothing runs the same. I think Kenny Hasbrook has done a phenomenal job at point. As the season's progressed, he's been very, very good. And it gives us a weapon at the point guard. He just keeps coming at you, and he's going to shoot the basketball. I got 16 in the first half. But Ronald finds people, and then we also have Kenny on his right or his left which makes us even that much harder to guard.
You know, defense was really solid. You hold them to 52 points, and you really get after it on the backboard. They didn't have one offensive rebound in that first half. How important is that for you guys?
Well, I thought there were a couple things. You pointed out one of them, no second shots. They got plenty up there last Sunday. We also, I thought, did a much better job getting back on Turner and limiting his space. You give him space, he can beat you all by himself. So we limited his space. We were able to get out on Coles a little bit. He did it a couple threes. But by virtue of not giving them any seconds and making sure we rebounded the ball, we got our transition game going.
All right, Coach, congratulations. We'll see you tomorrow night. Now, Kenny Hasbrook, our player of the game. And Kenny, you got after it early. You look like you came out with big eyes. I mean, first time you caught the basketball, you let it fly. Talk about your confidence there in the first half.
We want to come out with 100% effort. We want to play as hard as we could and put the team away early. And it just so happened I got a lot of open shots. They kept going on the screens, and we want to take advantage of it. So going into practice the whole week, I was ready to shoot the ball, and I came out and did it.
And talk about, a couple of games ago, you really struggled from the floor against Niagara. First half against these guys, the last time you played, you struggled. Since then, though, looks like you've gotten yourself back into a good offensive rhythm.
The game against Niagara was just an off game. I kept my confidence. I kept shooting as y'all saw the whole game, but the shot just wasn't falling. So no matter what, I know we got a lot of plays for me in the offense, and they want me to shoot the ball as many times as I can, but I have a good shot, and I just continue to do that.
And obviously, you got to like the idea.